In 1887, a metal smelter was opened in El Paso, Texas. This famously known 800-foot tower was called Asarco. It was a smelting and refining company that was built in order to take advantage of metal ores being produced south of the border in Mexico. Before it was shut down in 1999, it was one of the most famous smelting industries in the United States. However, one serious problem that continues to this day is the pollution and contamination had on the surrounding area. Studies were conducted on a town near Asarco called Smelter Town, which was a community where the Asarco workers and their families lived. In the late 1960s, the El Paso leaders grew concerned over the potential lead poisoning in the surrounding area. There were several complaints from the residents of Smelter Town and suits against Asarco. One in 1970 charged Asarco for violating the 1967 Air Safety Code. As the lawsuit evolved, the problem was redefined as lead poisoning in the Smelter Town children. The heavy metals that were being emitted into the air remained in the soil. As several tests and studies were made on the surrounding soil, it was found that from 1969 to 1971, Asarco had emitted 1.12 metric tons of lead, 508 metric tons of zinc, and 11 metric tons of arsenic. The residents thought of staying inside and keeping their homes as clean as they can to avoid dust, but that didn't work. Several residents got health problems that were due to the pollution Asarco was releasing.
Those people had been with Asarco for many years before they wouldn't use respirators, and they wouldn't take the extra precaution to where those people did have issues with respiratory.
There had been many cleanup efforts since the shutdown in 1999, but the contamination remained. In 2001, over 400 samples were taken in schoolyards, parks, and residential sites. They found traces of lead and arsenic. In 2008, 84% of arsenic and 53% of the lead contamination at residential properties were due to Asarco. It wasn't until 2009 when a new cleanup effort was made when a consent decree declared Asarco was required to pay $52 million for the maintenance and cleanup of the site. Although cleanup efforts were made, residents expressed three major concerns about the scale of contamination. First, residents expressed concern that contamination extends beyond the surrounding area to across the border. Second, there was a concern about the contamination not only being in the air, but also in the soil and water. And lastly, if there was any connection to the dust inside of homes and to the air pollution. The results of a 2004 EPA report found 2/3 of indoor dust samples had lead levels above action level in 30 homes. Asarco was one of the top smelting industries in America, producing approximately 579,000 metric tons of lead in 1975. However, working inside of Asarco brought on health issues that were never known to the public. Primary lead smelter and refinery workers had very high lead exposure. In 1985, a study found that the lead workers had excess deaths from renal cancer and chronic renal disease. Working conditions were dreadful, but workers overlooked it because of their high income.
It's not very many jobs in El Paso that pay that good. I was making a good living.
Workers worked next to the extreme heat, causing damage to their tools.
To work next to melted copper is hot. My welding hood would sometimes melt, and I was welding next to it.
It's a very well-paid job, so it was hard to be used to making, good money, and here in El Paso, it's hard to find a job that pays that well. So.
On April 13, 2013, the Asarco Tower was demolished. Demolishing the tower, however, made the pollution situation worse. Even though the demolition was seen as a success, Dr. Mariana Chu, an environmental engineer, said how when the tower was collapsing, it emitted fine particles that could lodge into people's lungs. Today, the contamination remains. Asarco has been sold to the University of Texas at El Paso. It is not known when the development will begin, but they plan to build additional student housing.